Is the slide visible? So hope slides are visible. I'm yet to start talking about the topics written on the slide. So you do a primary research to get more deeper insight. At the beginning, again, you don't want to spend a lot of money, so you do exploratory research, meaning you just wants to get, you want to get some kind of a bird's eye view about the customer, their behavior, etc. So you commission a very simple research with minimum number of minimum size of sample, very few people. Like now you have some data, so you approach to some people that you have a lot of money. I understand that your income is more something like a crore rupees a year, but you drive this kind of a car, you don't have a BMW. So do you feel that if a dealer is here, you will buy a BMW, or whatever is the reason why you don't buy? So as to understand whether people are really willing to buy, though they have money and they are not buying. So you do a very small sample survey. That is primary research, and at this point of time you're not sure whether, meaning this point of time perhaps you are still doing qualitative research, not quantitative, because your sample size is very low, so you won't be able to get a good quantitative understanding. So you're just trying to understand whether this market has a demand. So it will be kind of qualitative, that okay, if there are rich people here, or there are quite number of less rich people, and if the car is available, then maybe some people will buy, good number of people will buy, something like that. These are qualitative data. Qualitative, of course, this is not so much of a data, but qualitative maybe say what kind of climate do you like, or would you like, whether you will buy or you will not buy. All those are, of course, this is binary data, not qualitative data, but whenever data are in arithmetic numerical form, these are quantitative data. Even binary data is quantitative data. So there may be qualitative, quantitative. Now after exploratory, you want to get more insight, then you get into descriptive mode of market research, that involves questionnaire survey, then focus group, like you invite many people in a room, and then you uh, try to sensitize them about the benefit of the product, and then you get some feedback. Third is causal research. So you give some inputs to them, or maybe some kind of maybe a product, or you reduce the price, some action and reaction. So kind of stimulation. So you reduce the price and see whether the sales has gone up. You increase the price, you estimate how much percentage of the sales is going down. So you get an idea about the price sensitivity of your customer. That helps. At times of need, you can, in case you are interested in increasing volume, because you want to acquire more market share. Market share is very important. Whosoever has the leading market share, they have pricing power. So today you reduce the price, acquire market share, people become, habituated to buy your product. People's attitudes are sticky, meaning if they buy one product and kind of habituated, they will continue to buy even if the price goes up. So you want to hook up more and more customer. So you do a causal research, that whether people are really price sensitive. If they are not, suppose if they are not, and you reduce the price, your sales will not go up, or if you increase the price, sales will not go down. So both means, from increasing point of view, you have one kind of response, from decreasing point of view you have another kind of response. So depending on what your objective is, you have to uh, do the study and take proper action. That was kind of in a nutshell what we discussed in the previous day. Now for suppose you are a startup, or suppose you have some product in the market, whatever is there, you have to always try to create user personas, like what their likings, dislikings are, what kind of experience what kind of experience will excite them. So you need to create users personas. means they're peculiar. It's called idiosyncrasy. I don't know whether I have explained the term idiosyncrasy. It is the peculiar behavior. Like say, if we say what is the idiosyncrasy of IIT students, meaning what will excite them or what will put them down, what are they excited about, something like that. All those may not match with those of students in another college or university. So there are some peculiar or unique characteristic features. Those are called idiosyncrasies. So every customer or every customer segment shares some kind of idiosyncrasies. Suppose some people love cricket and some people love football. So these two batch of people will have different kind of idiosyncrasies. If you can capture that, and then suppose you want to attract their attention, so you make some video either focusing on cricket personas or football personas, you will be able to attract their interest. And then if it is very favorable, if they feel, wow, this is nice, I didn't know this, or this is good, means they will feel good about it. And at the end or during the whole storytelling, you somewhere you insert some insert that will talk about your product indirectly, directly, or whatever, depending on your status, your whatever, means many things. It's a basket of things that goes into marketing. Is a huge subject, so I cannot really explain everything in one sentence. So it becomes easy for you to reach out to these people and make some kind of motivational effort so that they come to visit your website and then start evaluating, and finally a prospect becomes a customer when the purchase. So depending on the psychographic, demographic, psychographic relates to psychology, their behavioral things, what they like, dislike, aesthetic sense, what kind of experience they will be excited about. Demographic is their age, their language, their income group, many other things, the kind of recreation that they're interested in, whether they're artists, whether they're students, whether they're teachers, they're government servants or private company. These are all demographic characteristics. So depending on what demographic suits your, means what demographic is resonate your product, meaning people of what demographic will buy your product, you create that persona. Then conduct observational research. Observational research is very important, and this is perhaps one of the best way to get unbiased data. Suppose you are building a prototype, new product, and you have built a prototype. Now you give that prototype to someone who is a potential customer. Now you ask him, after giving, ask him to use it for a while, then you meet him again, meet him or her, and then ask him, what did you like in this product? They will give you some feedback that will be biased, because first of all, it will depend pretty much on the first impression. Whenever that person encountered the product, he or she will have some kind of impression. Either this product looks nasty to me or this product looks exciting to me. Depending on that, all the experience will be biased. Then whatever feedback they are going to give may not actually help you. Now, rather than asking question, you give the product, let him fiddle with that for a while. Now ask him to use it, and then observe what he or she does. Suppose there are 3 buttons on that device, or say 5 buttons on that device. Now 5 buttons has 5 functionalities. Suppose that person presses, you educate him that this 5 buttons means for this. Now suppose you observe that the person is not clicking on the 3rd button or any particular button. Now you try to, now you ask him or her that there is another features. Have you noticed? They said yes. Okay, fine. That means the person is not interested in that feature. Maybe he clicked once and got bored or not disinterested, so he's not clicking. So observing will give an unbiased reflection. If that person without really interacting with him, then it becomes a biased information. But if you notice carefully as to which button the person is clicking repeatedly, that means that particular person is more interested in that particular feature rather than other features. So you try to you now decide that perhaps I need to accentuate this feature more, so that this kind of means if many people are doing the same habit, means showing that same behavior, then you make a decision that this feature need to be accentuated. So you come back with better, or say more powerful, that particular feature, then give it to them again. If you see that yes, there is a smile on their face, that means you have done the right thing. And if you see that when they're clicking something, their face is kind of turning pale or exasperation, then you realize that this is neither being appreciated, no, perhaps, or maybe our quality is not good with respect to that particular feature. So that now you interact, then you come back, then you, means depending on your feedback, whatever you receive, you go, you do the refinement, go back. So gradually you can come up with something which will be excited to, all the features will be excited to your customer. Then you know that we have many features, many winning features which customers are very likely to appreciate, and so we can kind of there is every reason to believe that we'll be successful. So that is your, that now you define your value proposition, that this is how we define our value proposition. We have these features which is superior compared to those of the competitors products. So you have a winning proposition. Then after you conduct observational research, now it's time for individual interviews. So you interview them and then get more insight. That's what I covered already. Analyze the data. Now, among everything, whenever you are interviewing people, you need to gather data which are actionable, meaning based on which you can take an action. If they say that, I'm not liking your product so much, this information is not at all useful. You do not know why they don't like. You come back disheartened that people don't like my product. You have to understand which part of the thing they don't like, and to what extent and why. If there is a comparable product in the market, you buy one and give both to them, and then try to understand which particular feature they are liking in the competitor's product and not liking in your product, and why. Can you improve that? So your insight should be actionable. Whatever information you get back, feedback you get back, you should be able to take action based on that, and action, useful action, not just some action. Even discarding your idea is an action, but that is not an useful action. You should be able to take useful action. This is another definition. I took it from the web, from internet. I'll make some editing myself. I just took it a little while back, so it is just a verbatim copy. I found this nice and explains whatever I'm trying to explain to my satisfaction. So read it at least. Yesterday I talked about A/B testing, and this is nice and people use it. If you are developing a product and you want real feedback, it means if there are two alternatives, like say you have developed a product with two winning features. You think that these two define my product in a big way. So have two different products, with one accentuated with one feature, the other accentuated with another feature. Now you want to understand which feature will customer value more, because both feature costing you so much money. So you want to optimize the cost. So have both, and then approach. Have both means not both in one product. One feature in one product, another feature in another product, and take feedback. That is also A/B test. So I talked about Barack Obama and how they received so much insight, and they actually challenged their own hypothesis. Because the primary hypothesis in a market research is that, or in any presentation for that matter, people say a picture tells 1,000 words, meaning that rather than writing so much on your slide, you can show a picture that will be equivalent to writing 1,000 lines or 1,000 words. And then people came up with that idea that a video has so many pictures in that. So video is much better than, video will give more information than a still picture. But then these are all hypotheses. Maybe there are data to support this, but at times, a picture may be much better than a video. So, or maybe the video was not the right video. Perhaps the video could not connect or resonate the people who are willing to donate. So perhaps if they change the video, would have been a much better idea than showing a family picture. Perhaps a family video would have made 90% success from 85. God knows. So unless you do that experiment, you can never say. So learning is very important. That is, you challenge your own hypothesis, number one. Number two, you should always realize that achieving an efficiency of 75% with respect to 50% is not the maximum that you should expect. You should expect 100% or maybe beyond 100%. Because as it is said that every visitor to your website is an opportunity. Maybe he doesn't have money to donate, but if the person is moved by your narratives, then perhaps even he or she will donate maybe $1. Even that is some money. If there are 1 million people of that kind, you get $1 million. So 100% is the minimum that you should target, not just 100%. People will become evangelists, like they will tell your narrative to other people. If you can do that, if you can facilitate that, then your efficiency is more than 100%. So sky is the limit. How much you can do through an advertisement, sky is the limit. That is another learning that you get from this A/B testing, Barack Obama's story. I already discussed all of that. So I'll restrict my discussion today to bare minimum because I have to cover the whole thing. Market survey consideration, meaning the primary market research, and the first primary market research is the survey. So the other day we talked about the guy, I forgot the name again. He visited a questionnaire. He tried to fill in a questionnaire, online questionnaire. He felt that this is nasty kind of a questionnaire. He built the questionnaire and then sold the company for $30+ million to SurveyMonkey. So questionnaire, there are a lot of arts and optimization in survey, in questionnaire design. Questionnaire design itself is a subject, and if you can build the questionnaire nicely, you will be successful in gathering information that will be useful. If your questionnaire itself is faulty, is done not with a lot of intelligence, then it is going to lead you to a wrong decision. That will not only put all the money down the drain, but it will be useless. You waste time, resource, everything. So you should be careful. You should read more about questionnaire survey, how the survey should be designed, how the questionnaire should be designed, what methodology should be approached to gather information, etc., before you really do that. So likewise, whatever are written are just the gist of it, the summary of it. So you should not put any question which is absolutely not necessary. Ask a question that is not going to give you any feedback. It all should be lean method. The philosophy of lean, that you should eliminate anything and everything, by eliminating which you don't reduce any value. Don't put anything for decoration. Don't put anything for your own satisfaction that this should be there. So keep it short and simple. Ask direct question. Ask one question at a time. Avoid leading and biased question. Leading question and biased question. Leading question is, suppose you ask a customer that say, don't you think smoking cigarette is injurious to health? This is a leading question. You are leading the customer to answer yes, because it's almost like you are inserting or pushing words into someone's mouth. Biased question maybe say, this itself is a biased question, or maybe you tell a story in a manner that the customer eventually can't really answer, means their answer becomes obvious, because you are leading them or creating a bias in them. What can be a good example of a biased question? Like a political question. Suppose some person is already politically inclined to a particular party. Now, if you are doing some market research on those, and then you talk about goodness of a party and then ask question, that is a biased question. Speak your respondents' language, what they understand. Don't try to be verbose, meaning you try to speak a language, a very hard language, maybe it is English or maybe it is Hindi or anything, but then level of understanding also is very important. Use response scale whenever possible. If you ask somebody that what is your, how do you think the price of this, what is your impression about the price of this? Now, what do you expect the respondent to tell you? He will say it is pricey, or he will say it's okay. That doesn't help you. What you should do is you should tell him from on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 meaning price is very low, 10 meaning price is too high. Where do you place your impression about the price? Now, if the person say, I think it is kind of 7ish, that means you know that the person's impression or person thinks that the price is high. So likewise, avoid using grids or metrics for responses. If you put a matrix, they will be confused. Rephrase yes no questions if possible. Take your survey for a test drive, meaning that once you are done with the survey, then you run it through known people, to the friend circle, and maybe your parents, maybe your relatives, maybe your team itself, whether they can respond. So these are, you should be very careful about all, means this kind of, this is just an example as to how question can be so biased, or question can be paraphrased in a manner to get just the opposite of what you want. If you ask any person whatsoever that do you approve a smoking while praying, whether he's a Hindu, Muslim, Christian or any other language, everybody will say when praying, obviously you don't smoke. In fact, they will come to beat you if you say that. But now paraphrase the question like this one, that do you approve of praying while you are smoking? I mean, you are already smoking and you have some time, means you are relaxing and smoking. Do you mind praying? They will say, are you a fool or an idiot? If I have time, no matter whether I am smoking or doing whatever, I will always pray, something like that. So the answer becomes diagonally opposite, if depending on the way you put up the question. Like Cook did a research. I'll not elaborate, you can read them. It is, internet is full of these examples. So when Coke came up, Coke was in a perennial competition with Pepsi. So when they found that Pepsi is going ahead, they are falling behind, they commissioned market research. Or they introduced, some consultant told them that Pepsi is sweeter than Coke. That is why people are buying Pepsi rather than Coke. So they introduced a sweeter version of Coke or a healthy Coke or something. I don't remember all of that. But then they found that people are not buying. So they were kind of baffled as to what is going wrong about people's taste and our understanding. So they commissioned market research. They did a blind test survey. Oh, they introduced a modern Coke or something with sweeter version of a Coke. They said new Coke or modern version. But people did not like it. Then they put a blind test in almost like 2 lakh people. They offered in a glass both new Coke and old Coke. New Coke is sweeter, old Coke is old Coke, whatever was there. When people took it blindly, they loved the old Coke, not the new Coke. So they realized that it is not the sweetener or anything, but people are emotionally attached to something and people purchase because of their emotional attachment. So eventually they launched the old Coke in a kind of a new bottle, saying that it is Coke Classic, meaning it has the old taste. So don't think that we have changed it. Now, this is in a nutshell how secondary and primary market research are compared. Secondary is qualitative as well as quantitative. Cost is low. In some cases, it is absolutely free. Time required is very short because you can just lay your hands on some available data and do it, and you get a bird's eye view. You don't get a lot of insight. Whereas primary research, the cost is high. It can be qualitative, at times quantitative, depending on what kind of mode you adopt. So read this. This is important. I'm not spending time because it's going to take at least 10 minutes to explain all of that. Now, market research by methodology or by method or by data type. It should be actually defined as data type, but people call it method. So quantitative and qualitative, I think I have explained sufficiently. If I explain more, you will get bored. So this is quantitative versus qualitative. So when you are asking some question in an interview, you mostly try to collect qualitative data, because quantitative data under this situation will not make any sense. Suppose you are talking to only 5 guys. With 5 quantitative data, you cannot run a regression. So there is no point gathering data at this point of time, at this level. So you try to understand qualitative information through that. This you can omit. And this is the difference between qualitative and quantitative. Then exploratory, descriptive, and causal I have already explained in great detail. I'll not do it again. There are some explanations here, so you can read them more. There are some references also. Okay, descriptive research. 2 basic type of descriptive research studies are cross-sectional and longitudinal. Cross-sectional meaning, suppose you try to understand among rich people whether educated people are more interested, whether service holders are more interested in BMW, or business people are more interested in BMW, or maybe say some other profession, maybe professionals like chartered accountants, lawyers, etc. are interested. So when you do this research, this is cross-sectional, cross-section, demographic cross-section, something like that. Now you can do longitudinal also. Longitudinal is combination of cross-section and temporal. Temporal means across time. Like suppose you want to see how sales of a particular product has performed over cross-section of the population and over time. Is there a change over time in different segment of the cross-section? You can do that using longitudinal study. This is the same example that I gave, but this is about magazine. So this is some data, like say you make a survey this year, make a survey next year, make a survey in the next to next year, and you have 3-4 brands. You want to understand which brand is doing better, which brand is not doing well, even though every brand is increasing or maybe slightly decreasing. Like brand 2, the sales is kind of 300, which is quite good this year or maybe first year. Similarly, brand 3 is also good. Brand 1 is not so good. Brand 4 is fantastic, kind of, among all the 4 brands. But see, across time, from 200, this becomes 300. From 500, this becomes 460. So 500 to 460 is a decline. 200 to 300 is a 50% increase. So you can think, you can see, even during this period, if you would make only a cross-sectional study, you will tend to think that this is better. 4 is better, 3 is also better, but 2 is not so good. But if you see temporal data from year 1 to 3, you will think that this is far better. Even in investment also, you need to understand temporal changes in any company's earning and their share prices. Only then your assessment will be good. Suppose you think that among these 5 companies, this company sales is 460, this is 300, this is 350, so this is far better. But look at this, they're actually on a declining path from 500 to 480 to 460, whereas this is from 200 to 250 to 300. So it makes sense to invest in first company, because next year it is going to be something like 450, then to 700, then to 1000, when this company will perhaps vanish from the market. So this is the importance of longitudinal study. Remember that longitudinal studies makes more sense than anything. Causal experiment, I have already said. This slide is very important, and you should understand the steps in market research. This is a very brief steps, meaning that there may be 10 steps, 20 steps or more, but these in a nutshell is the succinct steps. Just a second, please give me a moment. Okay, sorry. So first step is defining the problem. What problem you have, whether it is whether you want to do a pricing research, that if I increase the price, whether customer will buy, or why customers are buying competitors product even if the price is high, whether high price itself is motivating them. Then you define that, whether it is price, it is quality, new product, new habit, or whatever you want to, or demographic distribution you want to understand, not distribution, meaning distribution of liking across demographic. So depending on whatever you do, you define that problem well. Then develop the research plan, how you're going to do it, whether primary, secondary, exploratory, causal, or descriptive. Then collect information, meaning once you design everything, design the questionnaire, then start collecting, analyze the data, then make a presentation or make your own decision. Analyze the findings, make your own decisions. So very important, you read all the steps. Then there is another method of, there are 10 steps market research, very comprehensive. So I don't know, I'll not be so much interested in these 10 steps because we are not in marketing class. Or 12 steps, I increase the steps. So this you read them to understand the marketing research more in depth. But then these are actually the market research companies, consultants, like Nielsen is very famous, R&B also is famous, market Excel, then blah blah. So you don't have to memorize them. That is why I put the cross marks. Know your consultant before engaging, know their characteristic features, know how they are, their credibility, because most of the people who are doing market research, they already have collected data for some client or the other. Whenever they get another assignment, without doing research, they will try to extrapolate and give you something. They will charge you handsomely, but they will not take the pain of really doing it. So depending on their credibility, you have to make a decision. It's very, very difficult to make this decision. Counter check their clients, meaning if they have done something, you try to gather information from that client. Quality of insights generated, can they communicate well, are they known for maintaining high ethical standard. That's what I said. They must understand your business, must generate actionable measures, metrics, measurable, actionable and measurable metrics. People are not liking your product is not a measurable metrics. What percentage of people are going away from us is a measurable metrics, meaning a quantity. You can measure that percentage or something, and it should be actionable. They should be flexible, meaning flexible in their approach, flexible. If they say that we don't do this kind of research, but you need that kind of research, likewise. How much data is good enough? Pareto 80-20 rule. Pareto 80-20 rule says that 80% of the data will give you 20% of the data will give you 80% of the insights. So collect those 20% data with which you can get 80% confidence that yes, my customer or my market is like this. Don't try to collect 100% of the data to get 100% confidence. If you spend 20% of the money and collect 20% of the data that explains 80%, you have done it in a lean method. But you try to spend another 10% and get maybe something like another 3% insight, that is not economically viable. That is going to lead to a lot of expenses, and it's not so much useful. Look at what Jeff Bezos said. Most decisions should probably be made with somewhere around 70% of the information. If you are looking for 90% information, this will come so late and spending so much money that by the time you have this information, the market has already moved to some other paradigm. So there is no utility of the remaining say 20% of the information, because you lost an opportunity. So try generating that 70% of the data. That should help you to make a decision. With 10 minutes more, I'm going to talk about market segment. We have already discussed what is market segment. Market segment is a subset of people in the entire marketplace, in a country or in a market, a sub-segment of them who have unique likes and dislikes that serves your product. So if they have some liking, your product actually fills that liking, meaning matches that liking. and your product perhaps alleviate that pain that is common to these people, or your product fulfills their particular test that this particular segment of the people actually enjoys or love to have, or say this kind of people aspire to do this. Affordability is another thing. So if you can define this kind of a segment, then it becomes easy to reach out to them, to fulfill, to understand their problem better, and then customize a product that fits perfectly with the market. Market mean that segment. So market segment is identified for the purpose of understanding particular unmet pain in any group of people and developing solution to alleviate the unmet pain in a manner that would be regarded as superior value for money, etc., etc. Okay, so there may be competing products, but you need to understand what will give customer better experience. So I'll complete with this very small example. This is my creation. I have done this to drive home the point. Suppose you decide that jewelry is something that Indians always hanker for and look, and in the foreseeable future it's going to remain there. But gold price is going up. Now it is almost like 50,000 rupees per 10 gram. So very few people can afford. Earlier, perhaps say 20% of the population could afford. Now, perhaps 10% of the population can afford. So people are actually cutting down consumption. Now we think that people love jewelry, and when they cut down purchase of jewelry, they are cutting down on happiness. They are cutting down on their happiness. So that is a pain that you identify. So you want to chip in and make them happy. So you want to prevent them from cutting down on their happiness. So what do you think that you have come across an idea maybe from US and some other part of the world where 10 karat gold jewelry may be a fashion? I'm not very sure. Some student told me that it is available in US. So you do some experiment based on that, and then you see that 10 karat gold jewelry glitters as good as 24 karat jewelry, not just 22. So you make 10 karat jewelry, it is going to cost much less than 50% of 24 karat or even 22 karat. So you want to market 10 karat gold jewelry saying that this is gold jewelry. You don't say that this is 22 karat, but this glitters as good as 22 karat, and this will remain as glittering as 22 karat ever, means perpetually. It will never lose its shine. Even if it loses its shine, you can always polish just as you can polish other jewelry. So you want to market this. You have made an estimate that it's going to cost you to even start the business, it's going to cost you 10 crore rupees or something. Now, whether to invest 10 crore rupees and start right away, or you want to do a market research as to whether there is really a market, or people will have some taboo that this is some kind of imitation, not real gold or something, whatever. So you want to start, you want to pilot it in a village, large village with some 1,000 population, 1,000 families or something, so that you get a fair idea, and gradually you will escalate up from there with that confidence. So you want to do a market research first before even putting up a plant maybe with 1 crore rupees or something. Now, see, what do you want to do? You cannot approach to 1,000 people or 500 households to know whether they will be interested in 10 karat gold jewelry. Even if you approach them, many of them will give a biased reply. So unnecessarily, you don't want to talk to them. You want to know the demographic of the village. So how do you know it? Or whom do you want to approach? Rather than 500 household, you want to approach to those people who will be interested in buying jewelry. First of all, who are interested in buying jewelry. Now suppose in the village there are some 10% of the people are very poor. They cannot afford buying any jewelry other than imitation. There are families, let us say a fact as a fact. So you don't want to approach to them either. Similarly, there may be so rich people who will have a taboo because they can afford 24 karat or maybe even more. So there's no point approaching them because they will not be your regular customer. Perhaps you do not know, but then you want to eliminate at the beginning. So you want to get a demographic based on income about this distribution of people. So you want to do, you want to map the village based on income and some other demographic. What other demographic can be? Suppose there is a family with only male members. Now, there are some male members who are interested in jewelry, but not the kind of jewelry that ladies would be interested. And that means that should be a small segment where male also are interested, but we want to eliminate that at the beginning. So those families where there is no there is no female member, we don't want to unnecessarily go there and disturb them. Or maybe there are old ladies, we don't want to disturb them, something like that. So you define your own demographic, and then you approach to some local authority like municipal corporation or panchayat or anything. BDO, particularly BDO, collects all those information, and then demographic information is freely available and always available. How means household, number of people, number of married people, unmarried people, grown up girls whose marriage is imminent, something like that. So you want to target them even more. So you approach for that kind of data, and then even age wise mapping of the village, and eventually you come up with this. Out of 500, you find that 120 families are direct potential customers. So now you can approach to 120 people, you can send them mailer, you can talk to them, you can send an individual or maybe you send a mailer, and then you get their input, and then only you visit only 16% of the people, maybe 8% of the people. Say middle income families with grown up girls perhaps are the best to approach, because they are going to buy immediately, something like that. So you do all of that. So first part is a secondary market research, because you have not gone anywhere. So you started doing a secondary market research based on data available from municipal corporation or BDO or any other source. Now, after you receive that data, now you prepare a nice looking brochure, and then send somebody to this 120 people families. So now you are doing some kind of almost like an interview. So this is primary research. When you send even mailer to individual families, you are gathering the data directly. So this is primary research. So suppose rather than sending to all the people, you send only to the middle income 80 families. So this is kind of interview kind of thing, or maybe focus group. So this is not for describing the market. You are merely going to a small number of people. Only when you cover all the 120 families, that becomes kind of means you send questionnaire or mailer to all of them. That becomes a descriptive market research. So after doing all of that, you now have already mapped the village. Now you can think to which family you can even sell samples. You can send a representative with samples that look, we have this designs, and side by side you have gold jewelry, similar design. Now you show them, look, this is 22 karat gold jewelry and this is 10 karat gold jewelry. You can buy this for 5,000 rupees and this for 20,000, say 16,000 rupees. So your choice. So gradually you will be able to convince them that 10 karat gold jewelries are equivalent to 20 karat, because 22 karat, and we cannot make a distinction. When I'll be wearing a 10 karat gold jewelry, nobody will be able to understand that I'm not wearing a 22 karat jewelry. So you have done your job, meaning now they will be interested, not only interested, they are going to come to you without calling them. So that is how you are putting a person within the sales funnel. By segmenting, now it has become easy for you to reach out. Just a second, I have to take the attendance first, or maybe I'm already kind of exceeding my time. It's already 12 o'clock, so I'll not proceed further from here.